Welcome to the Mugen Masterclass. Until someone can prove me wrong and do better, I'm going to keep calling these videos Masterclass videos. I'm going to go through all of the Sctrls, state controller, for Mugen in the 1.1 version. Most of this would work on 1.0, but 1.1 is the latest version, and then I can go beyond that. I'm going to go through all of them in alphabetical order, so each video you'll see will be of those sets. This is the first video, and I'm going over Afterimage, Afterimagetime, AllPalFX, AngleAdd, AngleDraw, AngleMul, AngleSet, AppendToClipboard, AssertSpecial, Attack Distance, and Attack Mul set, and so on and so forth for the other videos until all of them are done. That's the reason why I'm calling it a masterclass. If I'm wrong, please correct me, but this is as far as I know. I don't know everything. This is just me spreading the knowledge to help make better Mugen creators of tomorrow. So to start off, we are starting with Afterimage, and according to the docs, the 1.1 docs, this will enable the player to have an afterimage. There are several key factors to this which are well beyond me, but I can at least give you the basis of it. When you do an afterimage code using Kung Fu Man here, our lovely stunt double, using Fighter Factory, if you double click afterimage on the right side, this is what you get. Everything needs a trigger. When do we want this to trigger? We're going to trigger at time equals 0, which is right away, instantaneously. How long do we want our afterimage to last? 20 ticks. It's like almost half a second. Let's do 30, so it's half a second. How far do you want the afterimage to trail behind? Length. That tells you how far. And then everything here in regards to PAL colors and stuff. Referring back to the doc file, PAL color, Sctrl, all of that goes to all of this mumbo jumbo. And essentially, what all of that summarizes is the first number is your red, second number is your green, third number is your blue. Using a color spectrum of your red, greens, and blues, you can get whatever color afterimage you want, mixing the red, green, and blue primary colors. If you have a high red and a high green, you're gonna have, I think it's actually a nasty color of like brown if they're equal. But if you have high red, actually let's show you. Yeah, let's go to PAL add, because this will add the PALFX. By default, your PALFX is gonna be blue. So do a taunt. See, by default it's a blue PALFX, right? Even if I comment this out, it's blue. So let's say I want a red PALFX, just purely red. I could do 255. I think 256 is the actual highest number, but I just like 255. See, so now it's red. But it still has some other weird artifacting colors of blue, and I'll be honest, I have no idea why that is. You could also go negative on the values. So this should be a really, really bright red, like an ungodly bright red. Yep, see? It's just pure red. Now, this one frame you see of him being blue, I believe that is a thing within Mugen itself, where it's that second to activate it. And it's hard to see, really, but so if I want it to be a yellow, right, I'm going full on red. The green is staying on normal, and the blue is being taken away completely. So now it's an orange color. It's kind of nasty looking. So PAL color, according to this, is pretty much how much color you want to have max. The max is 256, as noted here in some other spots. Here, valid colors are 0 to 256. Same for PAL bright, PAL post bright, and all those things. If you want to invert it, you can also do this. This is kind of cool. I'll show you what that looks like. I guess I gotta put a color. Alright, let's go with 128 on the blue side, and we're gonna, you know what, I have to uncomment that. There. Doesn't work if it's not uncommented. And I'm gonna negative that, and that's the negative blue. So it's very interesting, you know. I've never seen it used, but it's an option that's there. You can invert the palette, you can add brightness to the palette, you can add contrast. And post bright, I've never probably figured out how post bright works, but I feel like it adds brightness after the other two are added. Palette add is your one that you're going to use to really alter the effect of the palette, the after image. This is the value you're really going to want. And Mul is basically like an amplifier. Anytime you see mul, M-U-L, you'll see it a couple times in this series of videos. It's a multiplier of sorts. And then you have time gap, which is 1. I will set my time to -1, so it lasts indefinitely once I go to my taunt. So now I have it all the time. And this is when your time is equal to 1 with the time gap. It's 1 tick after yours. So it's literally always there on you. And then if you do frame gap, it basically, like, what does it do? It keeps track of each of the changes of frames, I believe. You can't notice the difference a lot, but it is subtle and it is there. And when you change the numbers, it really does make a difference. So let's try frame 10. So every 10 frames, I think it'll do something. Yeah, see? It looks like an after image clone, really, but it doesn't hurt, obviously. And then have your transcode, which is, put that back to 1, is to make it transparent. So far we've seen the after image is a solid color. Now by putting add, it's mostly transparent. So the darker the color, the more invisible it is, and the brighter the color, the more white it is. So that's why it's this interesting little blend here. Then there's add 1, which is to let more darkness in. So see, now we're adding more darkness to it. That light one that was really white, now it has, you can see the little shapes and the details of him. And as he goes darker, instead of being almost completely transparent, he's just a blue Kung Fu man with most details still visible. You can see his hands a little bit. Then you have sub, which is the negative, I believe. Let's see. It's a different kind of negative, actually. It's like a dark negative. This is a cool effect depending on the move you're doing. If the character has like a darkness type move, like this looks really nice. But that weird yellow is an artifact of the blue, the negative blue. And then, of course, you have none, which is for no trans whatsoever. So we are going to leave this as sub 1. I mean, add 1. There is no sub 1. We'll leave it like this for the most part, and let's make it like a bluish green color. So that is your after image. I know I didn't delve into these much, but I honestly don't know what they do. I've never played with them to the extent that I've needed them. I've never had a reason to, because how many colors do you want your character to have? You know, one thing I will show you, which is very fun, at least to me, is if you put, and this is like something really advanced, but I'm showing you because it's really cool. If you put negative 255 plus random, and then what is 255 times 2? That's 510 plus random 510. Oh, random percent 510. If I put this into all these spots, it's gonna make a very seizury thing. So I warn you now, if you have problem with lights flashing or anything, don't look here. Skip 10 seconds ahead. And it didn't work. It's an interesting lime green, actually. You see, oh wow, look at that, it actually changes every time I do it. That's kind of cool. I did not expect this. I like this. Oh, you know why that does that? It's because of my trigger. My trigger is time equals 0, so it activates once. If I set this to 1, which is infinite, it's going to change rapidly. And boom. It changed so much that it's not even changing at all. Well, that was a failed test. I have gotten it to work before. Let's try. Maybe this. I think maybe the negative was not the way to start off with. 0 is a good number to start with. Okay. Nope. Oh, you know why? This actually works on something else, not this. Anyways, I'll make his regular Afterimage a bluish color, a bluish green color. Anyway, so that's that, right? Good. Our next topic is Afterimagetime. What this does is it lets you set a time for your Afterimage. So the problem we have with Afterimages, it will sometimes not take effect of your hit defs, your hit pauses. And when that happens, your Afterimage will last longer than you want it to, or it'll be shorter when you want it to. So if I want this to last, say, 30, no, let's go with 60. Okay, 60 seconds. So let's see how much time I have with that. So 60 seconds. Oh, wow, really is 60 seconds. Yeah, so see, it lasts just till the end of the attack. And walking back. But now, I actually think I lost my train of thought with this one. But I'll be honest, you never really use the Afterimagetime. The only thing I could think of using this for is if you have an Afterimage lasting too long. Like say I'm using a -1 for a super, right? And I need it to end if I'm hit. Because once I put the Afterimage on, if I'm hit, it still goes, right? We don't want it to keep going while you're hit. So what you would do for that is you set the Afterimage to -1, you go to -3, and you do an Afterimage code using the code on the right side, and you end up with this. These two do not work in -3. And you're going to do something, this is slightly advanced as well. You're going to put move type equals H. Move type equals H means you are being hit, your player's being hit, and you set the time to 1 tick. So now, if I have my Afterimage and somebody hit me, it stopped. So now my Afterimage will not go longer than it needs to go. You can also do on the keyboard, if you press Shift and press 7, you get the ampersand key. You put two of these together and you get the AND, the coding version of AND. So move type equals H and you can put a state number, or you can do the 2 straight lines. These symbols are located above the enter key. I'm not sure what they're called. They're literally straight lines. Put 2 together and you get an OR. So we can have it so he will have the Afterimage if he will lose the Afterimage if he's hurt, or this thing if he enters state number equals 210, which is the heavy attack. So activating, right? I do these attacks, nothing happens. I get hit, Afterimage goes away. I do the Afterimage again. I do my heavy attack, Afterimage goes away. So you can have your Afterimage time set to -1, and then you can have your Afterimage time S control set to 1 in your -3 state with whatever trigger you want to limit it and to remove it. Ideally, you set your super Afterimage to a -1 time. You could set an Afterimage time in your -3 to something like this. This way, when you do your supers, you don't have your Afterimage forever, or extended period of time. Or if you're godly, you can time it and it's all done in one go. Next code is an AllPalFX. Same as PalFX. Essentially, an AllPalFX affects everything. I'm going to remove these codes now and make use of all the other things. I want to keep Kung Fu Man clean. This is the light punch, and we're going to use it AllPalFX. Trigger is going to be exclamation time. Exclamation time is not time, or it's the same as saying time equals 0. How long do you want this PalFX to last? This is in ticks. We have 1 tick, or we could put a bajillion ticks. Doesn't matter. For the sake of example, we'll do 10 ticks. We can add color, which is the same as the after image. You have your red, green, blue. Let's make the whole screen yellow. 256 and 128. Mul is your multiplier. Again, this is like a range of hues for the add, I believe. I could be wrong. I've never used Mul properly. I've always used it incorrectly, but that's as far as I know how Mul works. With 256 being all 3 values, it's using all 3 value colors. At the highest, it could use it. So I'm not going to uncheck that. Sin add is a way of fading colors. Then you have your invert all and the color, total number of colors you can use. I've never had to change this lower than this, and I've never used invert all. And the other two I never use either. The persistent stuff, not for this stuff. So when I do my light punch, everything should turn red for 10 seconds, orange for 10 seconds. See, it's yellow actually, it's not orange, which is good. I kind of like yellow. But that's an AllPalFX. AllPalFX will turn your life bars, your characters, your background, everything white. What is this used for? This is used for, say you want to do an impact of the player hitting the enemy and it flashes white. You could do a hit trigger of move hit equals 1. So now if I test it and I hit him, wait, why can't I hit him? Oh, maybe the trigger? Let's see. I was messing with this Kung Fu Man for other reasons. I really don't know why I can't hit him. Alright, let me move this out of this state, because the light punch state was what I was messing with. There, I put it in the heavy attack state. Okay, so now, see how he gets hit, then it flashes white? It's late, right? What's happening is the hit pause is affecting the controller. So this is an instance where you'd use ignore hit pause equal 1. And what this does is it'll make it flash on contact. So boom. So if you ever wanted to make a dramatic effect of you hitting the character and it flashes white, this is your way to go. Use a time value that's appropriate. 2 ticks, 1, 2, 3 ticks, whatever you feel like. Now let me show you something fancy and kind of advanced with AllPalFX. Now say I wanted my screen to fade out and fade in. What I would do is use a sin add code. Sin add is basically a sine wave, S-I-N-E wave. If I'm correct, I think a sine wave, it goes up and down, up and down. So what a sin add would do is it would raise these values up and down with this overall time frame. So if I put this to 0, which is the regular colors, and I put the sin add to white, my time and my sin add time are the same. So it should go from normal to white to normal, maybe back to white again. Let's see. Oh. See, so because let's do more than 10 seconds. Let's do 60 for 1 second, okay? And I'll change the trigger. There. So now when I do it, it fades from white all the way up and then back down all the way. So the sign is going up and down, right? So the sign being 0, you start at 0 is your baseline, normal colors. Send add over 60 seconds, it will go up 256, down 256, and back to 0 in 60 ticks. If I'm saying seconds, I'm sorry, it's ticks, which is 1 second. So that's why the screen's flashing like that. Now, if you want to do something like a fade out or fade to black, what you do is double up this time. If I put 120 and I test it, the screen's going to fade to that one color and then fade back. So it fades to white and then it fades back. If I wanted to do a fade to black like a Raging Demon or a finishing move that involves darkness, I would use negative numbers and I get this effect. A nice little fade to black. So you see how easy that is? It's kind of tricky, but if you wanted to fade out to a single time, use whatever time value and double it for your syn add. Remove this. Going back, we have an AngleAdd. Adds a drawing rotation angle used by AngleDraw. AngleDraw. You cannot use AngleAdd unless you have an AngleDraw. Same goes for Angle Mul and Angle Set. You cannot use any of those three unless you have an AngleDraw. In my experience, I've never used an AngleAdd. I've never used an Angle Mul, and I've never used an Angle Set. I just have never had a need to use them. What I will do, let me see. Okay, we'll stick with the light punch. So I'm going to add an AngleDraw to complement light punch. And the trigger is going to be, the trigger for AngleDraw is not a single thing, it's a multiple thing. So you can't use time equals 10. That's a no-go. You cannot use anim equals 5 or whatever. That's a no-go. You have to have a trigger that's consistent. So for the sake of demonstration, I'll use 1. So AngleDraw is constantly active while he's in this state. Now, what angle do I want him to draw to? Let's say I want him in a 25-degree angle, right? Let's save and test and see how it looks. So now while I do the light punch, I'm in a 25-degree angle. Of course, this is only visual because my access and everything, my sprites, the hitboxes, it's all still neutral. The AngleDraw is visual for effects. You would never really use it on a character unless it's for a cinematic or a special move where it makes a difference. Let's go with 45. See? I would imagine if you're using anything that has multiple rotations, you would use an AngleDraw to set the base rotation. You can also use 0, by the way, for neutral, for nothing. And then later on, you can have an AngleAdd where you would set the new angle, which would be, say, 90, right? First will be time equals 0, time less than 5, and this will be time greater than equal to 5. That's if your animation has more time than that. So if I do it, see? So this is the 45, and 90 is kind of a straight, so that's why it goes back. At least I think so. I've never used this thing. I have no idea how it works. I've never had a need to use it. Attack Mul, Angle Mul, Angle Set are kind of the same thing. You're controlling the angles of this thing, how you want to manipulate and all that. Personally, I don't do that. I've never have. What I would use AngleDraw is to rotate sprites. And to rotate them, I just kind of learned this new way recently. If you have to put a value, and then you have to put times time plus 1, right? This is very slight. You might even notice it at all. Yeah, no. Let's go with 25. What this does is you're multiplying the 0 by 25. But you know what? Hold on. Sometimes I get these values backwards. You gotta change the plus and the multiply. When you have it set up correctly, you get this. You get a sprite that rotates on its axis. Whoosh. Hitboxes always stay the same, but the sprite will rotate. Again, this is strictly visual. Something I learned recently was I thought you originally had to put a value here, but you don't. You could just put value equals time multiply by a number. Let's go 45. I can make him spin around really fast. And he's doing 45-degree angles. Like he's 0, he's 45 left, 90 left, 45 down, 90 down, 45 bottom right, and then, you know, he goes to the 45 degrees like this. Let me just make his punch animation a little bit longer for sake of humor. If I wanted something smoother, I would use a lower number like this. But remember, it's all based on your axis, so it's very important to keep that in mind, and your hitboxes don't change. So that's how you'd rotate something. Usually a helper works best. The other thing you can do is scale. AngleDraw lets you scale. Default is 1:1. This is basically normal size scaling, nothing special. I could put 2:1. See, he's like largo. Hitboxes do not change. Remember that. AngleDraw is strictly visual. I can make him like, you know, slender Kung Fu Man or something. See? Slender Man. Also, like the code above, you can use a time modifier on it to scale. This one's more finicky, of course. So plus time multiplied by 0.1. I'm enlarging him by adding 0.1 to 1, so it's 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, as many ticks as it's allowed, and it stretches. The higher this number, the faster the stretch, and if it stretches too much, he will implode. This also works in the negative, but in the negative, it's more different. Negative values, you may have to divide it by half, actually. So this is a... Yeah, see, he scaled down so fast that he stretched the other way to the ground. So instead of like a 0.01, use a 0.1. 0.1, sorry. 0.01. And you just play with the numbers until you get your liking. What I would do with this is use it for like a beam, where the beam has no end. I would use this to like scale the beam down to itself. And this obviously works on the left side as well. And that's what you would do, really. Like combining both, let me undo, combining both of these things, it can be pretty interesting results. It's comical at best. See? Very comical stuff. Okay, next thing we have is AppendToClipboard. This is the same as display to clipboard. It basically, it puts a little information in the bottom left for you over here, just below your debug information. You could put it anywhere technically, but I've only seen it practiced in what's it called, in the -3 states. And basically your trigger one is going to be 1, your text, and your param. So your params are whatever variables, val sets, or whatever you want it to be, life, right? And you know what, let's do power as well. I don't know if I can do this many, but I'll try. And then your text is how you want to display that. You could type whatever you want to type, but when you put % and D for decimal, or %F for float value, or %I for integer, that's what you get your values at. So the first one is always the first one, second's always the second. So now I'm going to type out life equals %integer, power equals I don't know. Oh, let's go with decimal. Yeah, I think it'll show this many. I'm not fully sure. I never tried this many. When you put debug on, it's actually freaking out. That's really interesting. Maybe because I put too many, but that's how it would work normally. So let me remove the 2 examples it gives us. Use our own examples. Wow. Oh, you know why it's doing that thing where it's flowing? AppendToClipboard adds onto the clipboard at a constant level, in this case a constant level. So if I wanted to keep track of my variable usage, when a variable is being added, or when it's summoned, or a helper or anything, I can use an AppendToClipboard to add the information to the clipboard on top of whatever I have displaying already. So this way I can know if a variable was turned on, or a helper was summoned, or if a variable within the helper was summoned or turned on. So AppendToClipboard adds to the current clipboard. Yeah, as it says here, the message text is added on a new line instead of overwriting whatever text is already on the clipboard. That's how that works. Next is the AssertSpecial. This one is a really fun one. So AssertSpecial allows you to do certain things, and it's only active for ticks. It's not active for triggers. Time equals anything is not going to work. Anim alum equals anything, it's not going to work. You need a constant trigger. So for the sake of example, I'm going to put it here in -3 where it's always active. Now I have 3 flags I can use. You cannot use more than 3, only 3 at a time. If you want to use more than 3, you have to make multiple AssertSpecial states. So the first one is intro. This tells the engine that you're in your intro state right now, and the game knows how to treat you regards to, I guess, timing, skipping, and all that stuff. Next is invisible. It literally what it says. It makes you invisible. Because these are always active, I'm just gonna not be there. Hitboxes are there and everything. Now see, yeah, invisible until the hit pause kicks in, then I'm visible. So invisible is a good way to go invis per se, but it's kind of a cheap thing. I wouldn't go to that level. Round not over, that's used for win poses. It's so the game doesn't cut your win pose in half. This is to let the game know the round is not over yet. Wait, is that what that means? Hold on a second. Tells Mugen character. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Round not over. Tells Mugen the character is currently performing their win pose. Okay. Okay. And we have no bar display. No bar display removes life bars. No life bars. This could be used if you want to have your own life bars. Like say, if you have a helper, if Kung Fu Man spawns a helper which appears as a single life bar on top, and then he has one single life bar on the bottom, you can do that. It's very difficult to do that. I wouldn't do that. What I would use no bar display for is a cinematic move where I'm knocking the player off the screen, and I don't want to lose the effect of, you know, something cinematic looking. Then you have no background, which removes the background altogether. No background. You have no foreground, which is anything in the front with layer equals 1 in the stage. It's going to disable that. You normally see flag 1, no BG, flag 2, no FG. No stand guard. This is exactly what it says. It removes your standing guard. You cannot guard if you're standing. I'm going to walk backwards as he tries to hit me. I could crouch block, but I can't stand block. Same thing goes for no crouch block, no air guard. Guard, you know what I mean. So those are pretty much that. No auto turn. This is an interesting one. Which you gotta be making a particular kind of character for this to work, but it stops you from turning automatically. You know, you got full contact and everything, it just stops you from making any kind of forward turning anything. That's a special use case also for a special kind of character. No juggle check. I don't think I could show this one, but essentially, when you use your attacks, each attack has a juggle point, and your character at the top of your data file has the air juggle. It's set to 15 by default, so it means you have 15 points. Every attack you do takes away whatever number it says. So if I attack, my juggle points go to 14. If I go to this one, take away, my juggle points go to 10. So this helps limit moves from being spammy. Once you reach your number of juggle points, your hits don't make it anymore. They don't hit. No juggle check disables juggle points altogether, and you could hit every single move. You know, if you could hit them, or they could block it. But this removes your juggle points. No KO sound. Okay, so let's see. No KO sound. Just Kung Fu Man. Okay. Nothing that time. No KO slow. I'm sure you've noticed that when you kill a man, he like slows down. No KO slow does exactly not that. It just goes normal speed. Global no shadow and no shadow. It removes the shadows basically. Global no shadow removes all shadows, players, helpers, and anything else. No music will stop the music from playing. No walk will prevent the character from walking. Now, why would you want to do this? Honest answer, I don't know. I can crouch, I can jump, I can't walk. I would imagine this is in case you're making a specialty type of character that doesn't follow the norms of a regular game, and you just want to disable walking. Timer freeze will stop the timer. Unguardable will make every single one of your moves unguardable. So even though I'm trying to block, I can't do anything about it. That's what unguardable does. Those are your assert specials. Next is attack distance. Change the value of the guard distance parameter of the player's current hit depth. It's in the size of pixels, I believe. So, using the standing light punch, let's go attack distance. And I believe I don't know if this is constant or if this is just temporarily. But for example's sake, I'll set the attack distance to 50, which is 50 pixels away from me. I guess that is 50 pixels away. Let me raise it to 100. Okay, so what happens here is basically your attack distance is how far your attack goes forward, like this, starting at your axis. So it's in pixels. So 50 pixels out was like about here. 100 pixels is about here, right? So that tells you when the player can start guarding. So the higher the number, the sooner the person can guard. I've never used this code, but this is a thing. So setting at 200 is ridiculous. And if you go to the, what is it? The size section here, the attack distance is normally 160. So you can always change that if you want to. I've never changed it personally. I probably should have, but I didn't do that. And next we have Attack Mul set. This one's a fun one. So Attack Mul set basically gives you a multiplier, and it scales, or rather it's explained, I'm going to explain it in a sense of percentage. So going back to your -3s, Attack Mul set, we have a trigger of constants, which is 1. This is something that falls under the category of it needs a constant trigger. Using anim elem is not going to work. Using a time equals is not going to work. Using a variable could work, but it might not work. Using 1, which is infinite, will work, obviously. And now you get to set your value. Remove the 2. So setting it to 1 makes my damage and everything, all my values, default. If I hit him, okay, if I hit him, I lose this much. This is just at the middle of the M. If I increase his attack mul set to 2, which is 2 times the damage, I'm doing just at the beginning of the U. If I want to be a crazy person and put 124, it would kill him. It'd kill a man. So I like to look at this as percentage, right? So 1 is the same as 100%. So now, say I have a move where my character gets a power up or a boost, turns Super Saiyan, or is on the brink of death and they have a one last hurrah. What I would do is give them more power. My opinion, 1.2 is a very safe increase. It's not too much, it's not too little, but it's noticeable because I was going to the M, the front of the M before, now I'm going to after the middle of the M. So I'm doing just enough that I can actually increase my overall damage output. This also works in a negative sense. If you put a 0.5, I'm doing half my damage. So now I'm at the A. I should be at the M, but I'm at the A. So that's your attack mul set. You're basically a percentage multiplier of what your attack is. If it's 1, you're doing 100%. If you're more than 1, you're doing 100 and something percent. If you're less than 1, you're doing less than 100%. I do not think you can do a negative value. I have never tried the negative value. We'll find out now. Oopsies. Killed the wrong guy. Yeah, you put a negative value for your mul set and you will actually heal the enemy. Like, I've never tried this. This is actually crazy. That's a very weird one. Anyways. So that's it for this video. Stay tuned for the next one. Next one we're going over AllPalFX, bind to parent, bind to root, bind to target. Thank you. Stay tuned.